We're now going to hone in on one of the hottest topics in retail right now, AI. And more specifically, AI is a powerful, practical tool for growth and creativity. You're about to hear exclusive insights from conversations that our team is having with you, our customers, and our prospects, and how the Amplience platform is evolving to meet the needs of retailers today. It gives me great pleasure to introduce to the stage Chris Anisi, SVP Global Sales and Partnerships, Nick Piper, VP of Product, and Ollie Cicluna, Senior Product Manager at Amplience.
Fantastic. I'll just, we've got our seats now, so it's going to be a very long session if we were standing up. But cool. Ollie and I have been part of the furniture, I think, at Amplience. Been here quite a long time, ever since we really started the journey to build out the CMS. Chris, you've joined us a lot more recently. I know you spent a lot of your first few months really out in the field, speaking to customers, speaking to partners. It'd be great maybe if you could just give us a little bit of an insight of the type of conversations you've been having and into the types of things customers have been talking to you about.
Well, first off, I'm really glad we have seats. I did think we were going to have to sit on the side of the stage, so this is great. But thank you all, and hello, everyone. Over the past 3 months, I've really had a warm welcome to Amplience, and it's been a real privilege spending time with customers and prospective customers and finding my way around the partner ecosystem. It's been very interesting. And what's really stood out to me is how diverse the implementations of Amplience are, and also the ways our customers are creating value with the platform. And the stories I've heard have really been inspiring to me personally as an executive on the team. And at the same time, I've also heard from customers about some of their big challenges that they're navigating, right? So first off, they're competing in a very tough macro environment. I understand there's tariffs that are impacting a lot of Europeans right now, right, from our friends in the US. Also facing aggressive competition more than ever. And then managing the intense pressure on margin, right? That's always something that businesses are struggling with. And then lastly, C-level is expecting, they want results, they want cost efficiency, and they want control, right, as a business. It's in this context that I really feel like the work we're doing with our customers today and the future work we're doing with our customers around AI become that much more important, because it's not really just about a technology. It's really more about helping businesses adapt and succeed in this very challenging and difficult environment. So, Nick, I understand you spend a lot of time with the content teams directly of our customers. What are the challenges you're hearing about that they're facing?
I think everything you've just said just resonates, and I think the previous panel and the speakers we've had so far have really articulated a lot of it. Teams are trying to create room for innovation, and I think there's just kind of reaching your customers is harder than it ever has been. I think there's an sort of exploding demand of in terms of creating content to be able to reach your customers where they're trying to find you. So it's obviously gone beyond all the sort of traditional content you'd use to populate your .coms, your apps for SEO, for email. You kind of layer onto that, reaching audiences in sort of social channels, and then trying to speak to customers in different marketplaces, and then times that by this kind of the multipliers of users in different, your customers in different geographies, trying to personalize to different audiences. So it's a little bit of a perfect storm, I think, for content teams out there. And that's before you even really start to think about how AI is really reshaping customer journeys. So increasingly customers will be finding products and brands via AI, via our channels, via AI summaries, via kind of zero-click kind of search paradigm that's there now. So it's really starting to think about how I think the content teams are really. There's a lot of conversations going on about how do you remain relevant, how do you remain visible in that type of a context. So I think really sort of summarizing it, there's a capacity problem there. I think I think the previous panel, that was certainly something that became apparent. So, and I think, again, some things were discussed in the previous panel around, there's a lot of time just, I think, spent now that's really just spent on the kind of the hygiene, if you like. So just getting products live with good data, with consistent imagery, when you're getting sort of, that's a challenge in itself. And I think it can, in some cases, that's the thing that's really kind of overwhelming product teams, you know. So I think there's enormous potential there. It's one of the reasons it's really driven us to think a lot more about automation and how we can kind of free your teams up from doing that type of repetitive, high volume kind of work. So I think the challenge really is scaling that content production, but doing it in a kind of smart way that again provides that space for you to respond to be able to respond to the more tactical kind of content demands and to innovate and focus on sort of more strategic priorities.
Great, thanks, Nick. And how are these content teams thinking about meeting these challenges?
Well, I think. See, we've seen a lot of customers over the last few years. Their content teams have really, they've seen the enormous potential of AI to sort of help to scale content production, and I think we've really seen a trend where moving from a kind of more of a working in an assistive manner with AI, sort of a one-to-one, with working with whether it's with GPT or Claude or whatever to sort of increase efficiency, to really zeroing in on how can you scale that really and how can you automate it. So I think again they're the conversations we're having. I think 2 years ago there was some, I think not necessarily everyone was bought in that was going to be the way forward. I think we're really seeing that's the message we're getting from customers is that's really what they're really the goal is, what they're trying to achieve. But it's challenging. There are lots of kind of challenges when you try and automate content. One of the challenges is the sort of inherent kind of probabilistic nature of AI. Its power comes in its creativity, but with that creativity, there's a degree of unpredictability as well. So it's brilliant if you can get 999 of 1,000 product descriptions kind of written perfectly with AI, but you still need to find and fix the 1% that aren't. And that's a challenge because you don't want to be sort of misrepresenting your brand there. And I think. The other thing I'd say is AI at the moment, certainly the current generation of AI, it gives you the best outputs if you give it a focused task and if you give it really good, rich context data. But the reality is, the creation of content, even something that's relatively simple like product content, is a complex process. There's multiple steps involved. There are whether it's sort of enriching the data because you haven't got necessarily complete attribution, whether that's, you've obviously got the creation process. There's a huge, variability in brand rules that apply. You want to write content that's different by category, by brand. The Chanel example is a kind of a great example of, how that's so kind of important. And when you're using AI, you've got really there's a spectrum of control. Like at the one end, you've got the working one-to-one when it's back and forth via a chat interface where you kind of have complete control, but see it's only going to scale so far. And at the other end, you can delegate complete control to AI to an agent. But I'm not sure how many in the audience would trust delegating complete control of creating all of their content to an AI at the moment. I think the reality is that the technology is not there yet, and I don't think businesses are there yet at the moment. So you kind of need something in between. You need, to give business users really the tools to be able to orchestrate, to break down their content processes into kind of the appropriate steps and to be able to orchestrate that. And I think the big challenges customers face at the moment is that ends up a lot of the time being in code, or in developer kind of centric tooling. But really you need that control to be given to business users because, as you guys know, the world changes very, very fast. Your demands will invariably change for content, and you need that to be, in order to be able to respond to that needs to be in the hands of business users.
Cool, awesome. So, recently you've been deeply tied to bringing some of our new solutions to market, and you and I have been working together over the past 3 months to identify a number of customers as part of our innovation program. I was thinking it would be really great if you could share with the audience here a little bit more about the innovation program and some of the things that we're doing with our customers in that area.
Yeah, I mean, here, for any sort of decent, I think, product company, the conversations we have with our customers are really what drives our roadmap. It's very much driven by your customer, our feedback from customers, the goals our customers have, the pain points our customers have. So We try and interact with customers as much as we can throughout our product sort of discovery and development lifestyle. I'd highlight we've got a bunch of product and engineering people here today. I think it's in Studio 3. There's Ask the Expert sessions, and I'd please really encourage people to go and have a chat with those guys, because they'd love to hear all about your processes, your goals, and that can really help. Again, that helps us inform the way our product evolves. When we're looking at bigger investments, such as we're working through the new workforce capabilities, we have a program, like a thing called we call an innovation program. With that program, we basically partner with a small set of customers who have kind of unmet needs in the area in which we're kind of focused in on. In this case, it's really around that kind of AI kind of automation. Those customers work really closely with us to really help us go deep into the problem space, to understand exactly what the situation is on the ground, and we work with them. They basically help us validate our ideas and our solutions and our prototypes, and really we go all the way through that program until they take that sort of solution to market. We commit as Amplience to really building something that's going to address their problem, really. So, I mean, Ollie, you're kind of leading the current innovation program. Be pretty great if you could maybe delve into just a little bit more of the sort of specifics of the types of places where we're thinking we're able to add value to the set of customers we're working with.
Yeah, of course. And also, I'd like to say how grateful I am personally to our innovation partners, because it's like something I really enjoy about my job. Like, product and engineering teams can be kind of cut off aside from our customers sometimes, and we really want to be part of the process. And when we understand the problem as well, the engineers get inspired more to build the right solutions. And as part of this program, we've been identifying sort of opportunities that Amplience Workforce can help with. And there are a few sort of high-level examples is sort of brand image styles, where supplier or internal photography has to match your house style, and suppliers might send images with different background colors in different sizes, different alignments. Then when it gets to product listing page, it just doesn't look good. So we're looking at how can we help that process. I'm going to dig into that one a bit deeper in a minute. We can also look at media attribution with AI, so finding missing metadata, applying that to images. That could help with kind of AI-driven search later. Also kind of product attribution, where product data might be missing some of the data. Analyzing images and also doing kind of AI research can help with that attribution, and again help with kind of AI search. Another kind of pain point we looked at with automatic swatch generation. So generating swatch images for fashion obviously can be quite time consuming, just doing those kind of detailed crops one at a time. That's something we could potentially automate. Also kind of AI checks at the end of the process to sort of optimize the kind of human review steps that we've been talking about. And like that, when we look at kind of with working more with kind of content teams away from the image process, there's lots we could do with obviously generative. So we're looking at, can we generate content for email campaigns? Can we generate content that's sort of like SEO and generative engine optimized for kind of Q&A type content for products and product guides, those kind of things. And also localized product descriptions, like optimizing that localization process. So how might this kind of look in a sort of automated workflow? So when we're looking at brand image styles, so imagine that you can kind of, your suppliers might send you images in all sorts of different ways, like through email, through your box feed, through FTP. So with a sort of workforce capabilities, we can be really flexible with how an image can be ingested into the Amplience system. So make it possible for maybe the suppliers to send the image directly into the system and straight into the workflow without sort of having manual intervention to find and source the images. We can then look at kind of like AI to sort of analyze the image and detect which style to apply to it. So for example, footwear might be aligned to the bottom and fashion might be aligned to the top, for example. And then actually kind of individual processes that could be automated, such as the remove background and apply shadows, would obviously be part of the flow. But then toward the end of the flow, what do? We might have AI checks to help the review process, as I mentioned. We've actually got our human review step if we want it, which you might not want in the image process, but we could add in. And then at the end, we can actually help with the naming convention for the images, give them the correct names, depending on the attributed data, and then put them right into the DAM so you don't have to like upload to the DAM at the end. So kind of we're looking at that whole process, and in the ideal world, we'll be able to do all of it. We'll see whether that always works, but that's kind of what we're aiming for. And if we're looking at more kind of, so that's working with our sort of photography studio teams at customers, working more with the sort of content teams. They have more kind of content marketing type problems. Putting a campaign live can take a matter of weeks. So those teams, we're looking at processes where a content brief can be come straight into Jira, and the Jira flow might trigger a workflow. So the Jira could be moved into a different status that might trigger a workflow. And then that workflow can automatically kind of generate the right content according to the brief. Maybe the brief includes the content type that needs to be created. And the flow could generate the content and send it through a review process. The review process could potentially update Jira again to send a notification. And then at the end of the process, create kind of the placeholder content in Amplience that could have a final review in sort of dynamic content or another CMS. So when we look at kind of the benefits of these kind of processes, I think both these kind of images processes and the content processes are very time consuming. We're looking at sort of 2 to 3 week processes for like campaign content, and it can be similar for getting a product live, and the image is part of that process. So you can take away some of the pain points like using third-party suppliers to do image optimization that can often have like a 24 to 48 hour turnaround time. And obviously we can bring benefits for like SEO and GEO, which can help with conversions.
Cool. Thanks, Ollie. So I guess, you talked a little bit about use cases, right? So based on, your experience and working with our customers on these use cases, what should some of our customers today be thinking about as they start to take this journey?
Yeah, so similar to the way we've been kind of working with the Innovation Partner Program, it's really a kind of business analysis process. And we've heard from some of our other customers today that are already on this kind of process internally outside of our program. So it's really looking at what are your goals? What do you want to kind of improve? Mapping out your existing kind of use cases, identifying the pain points, and working out kind of what your return on investment is for optimizing those pain points. And then it's kind of like, are there any quick wins you can do? And how will you kind of evaluate success? What are your KPIs? And I think at the end of doing that kind of process, you really want to be iterative. So like maybe work on those quick wins first and try those out on a smaller subset, maybe like one product category, for example, before you go for the full automation.
Makes a lot of sense. It's really interesting that you bring up evaluation criteria and KPIs. It's one of the biggest challenges that we hear from customers is really more about getting buy-in from the C-level. In so many of these conversations, there's a critical theme, and it's super important that they can articulate business value from AI, and that value is often framed in terms of agility and speed. So essentially, how quickly can it be produced? How fast can it get on the website? And how quickly can we start actually selling product, right? That's a big KPI for many companies.
Right.
But here's the thing, like executives aren't gonna greenlight an initiative unless they can see that clear ROI. It has to be proven. And while speed to market is a huge part of the story because it directly translates into revenue, there are other ways to demonstrate value. So if you just take the content supply chain as an example, many of our customers are producing content across multiple languages, right? This is just one use case, and it's usually a very manual process. I think someone brought it up today. They outsource some of this to agencies, so it's really heavy resourced. They might outsource to a translation agency or even lean on regional teams in different areas, and it can be very taxing, which time consuming and expensive, which are never two good words. Now, when you add AI into play here, suddenly the whole process can be streamlined, right? Costs go down, turnaround time shrink, and the content pipeline becomes far more efficient, right? And so, that's the kind of tangible ROI that makes it a lot easier for the C-suite to say, yes, this is worth investing in, right? Really, really important piece of it. So Nick, just turning the page here a little bit, where can we expect to see innovation in this product?
I mean, John in his keynote stole my thunder a little bit, but yeah, you're gonna see some major really steps forward in terms of our capability in the kind of automation space over the coming months. Really, what we've done is we've taken all the learnings we've had, both from the innovation programs and all of the existing work we've done with studios and implementing automation with customers, to give them the tools they really need, give yourself the tool you really need to really be able to capitalize on that potential, practically capitalize on the potential of AI. So just to call out a few highlights. Flows, as I think John talked about earlier, is a new capability that really puts the orchestration and of AI processes, the control of that into the hands of business teams. So it's something that's, Ollie kind of mentioned some pretty specific kind of use cases, but you can really apply it to kind of anything you want to. So it comes with a huge kind of range of out of the box agents and actions, that are very much targeted in, as we are just as Amplience as a customer, on creating content for e-commerce. So anything from things like data attribution, lots of different image manipulation capabilities, lots of content creation capabilities. You can also connect to anything else within your kind of ecosystem really easily. So again, it'll come with a lot of out of the box integrations to common vendors. But you can also customize them as well, So what we're trying to do is, again, put that control in the hands of business teams. So as their world moves around them, as the demands of customers change, you've got the ability really and the agility within the tool to be able to respond to that really quickly. So yeah, I think really the vision there is, and I think it was Rehan who said earlier, we're trying to take away the need for the teams to be caught up in all that kind of really essential foundational work that's all that you need to do to be able to get your products live, and free those creative teams up to do what creative teams do best, and to be able to innovate, to be able to be a bit more strategic rather than tactical, to be able to respond to change. So lots of really exciting stuff to come, and I would say don't just take our word for it. Like in some of the breakout sessions, Ollie and Shane from the product team are actually going to be demoing some of these capabilities live. So please go and attend those sessions, ask whatever kind of questions you've got, and we really look forward to kind of hearing your feedback.
Cool, awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Ollie. Really appreciate it. And I believe we have a few minutes for questions. So I think we'll open the floor. I don't know if there's a mic floating around.
Hello, folks. That's super exciting. There's so much going on in the Amplience land. It's hard to keep track at the moment. One of the things I'm really interested in, Nick, is how are you going to work with third parties like us at MAP? So we'll bring all this very rich attributed product data and all of that sort of intelligence into the platform. How can we sort of join that up for customers in a workflow? Yeah,
I mean, that's one of the central considerations for us in how we've designed things. So we want customers to be able to have the access to best of breed, such as MAP, to be able to integrate as they want to. So we've made it really easy to plug in third-party services, and also we're completely model agnostic, and we're really service agnostic. So there'll be out of the box Amplience capabilities that will do a lot of things, but where there aren't, in addition to that, you'll be able to connect to any of the capabilities you want to use. So for customers using different vendors, I think JD mentioned that they had a vendor that was providing really good the ability to put product onto models. These are things you'll just be able to plug in. Anything that has an API, you can plug it into the process, because I think the reality is, I think one of the challenges of being in the space at the moment is it moves so fast, right? And you kind of, as a business, you need to retain that flexibility and agility to be able to respond to change, because otherwise it's just it will pass you by. So that's something we built into the core of the capability. Really, is that ability to be very friendly to everything else, all the different kind of vendors and services within the ecosystem.
And to add to that a bit, this could be multiple things. It could be as a kind of knowledge source for a custom agent, or it could be sort of custom way to trigger a workflow. So there's multiple ways you can kind of integrate in, and you can sort of package them up as an extension, essentially.
Cool. I believe we have time for one more, maybe.
Hi. Now that we're becoming a bit more aware that AI isn't free to the planet. I just wondered how sort of cognizant you were as a company of making sure that the uptake of your AI isn't is green AI in some way.
Yeah, no, I think it's a good question. I think we're kind of very conscious it's a blend of both AI using AI where it's appropriate to do so, and then and not just kind of for the sake of it, kind of everywhere. Yeah, I think it's a big question for the industry as well at the moment. So I think what we are certainly seeing though is that kind of our customers are coming to us wanting to be able to use that. So we're trying to just respond to that demand, I think.
Cool. Awesome. Thanks, Nick. Thanks, Ollie. Thanks for your questions. I believe that's a wrap. We appreciate everyone being here today. Thank you so much. Looking forward to the rest of the event, and we'll see everybody soon. Thank you.
Thank you.